Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we will take a look back at one of the most perplexing mysteries in aviation history. What happened to Flight 19? Make sure you stick around to the end so you don't miss out on any details. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Without further ado, let's begin the video. More than 70 years later, we are still questioning the mysterious disappearance of Flight 19. Flight 19 was a designation of a group of 5 General Motors Eastern Aircraft Division (TBM) Avenger torpedo bombers that disappeared over the Bermuda Triangle on December 5, 1945. After losing contact during a United States overwater navigation training flight, the flight began as a normal training flight. At 2:10 p.m. on December 5, 1945, 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers took off from the Naval Air Station at Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The planes, collectively known as Flight 19, were scheduled to tackle a 3-hour exercise known as Navigation Problem Number 1. Their triangular flight plan called for them to head east from the Florida coast and conduct bombing runs at a place called Hens and Chicken Shoals. They would then turn north and proceed over Grand Bahama Island before changing course a third time and flying southwest back to base. Save for one plane that carried 2 men, each of the Avengers was crewed by 3 Navy men or Marines, most of whom had logged around 300 hours in the air. The flight leader was Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, an experienced pilot and veteran of several combat missions in World War II's Pacific Theater. At first, Flight 19 hop proceeded just as smoothly as the previous 18 that day. Taylor and his pilot buzzed over Hens and Chicken Shoals around 2:30 p.m. and dropped their practice bombs without incident. But shortly after the patrol turned north for the second leg of the journey, something very odd happened. For reasons that are still unclear, Taylor became convinced that his Avenger compass was malfunctioning and that his planes had been flying in the wrong direction. The troubles only mounted after a few blew in and brought rain, gusting wind, and heavy cloud cover. Flight 19 became hopelessly disoriented. "I don't know where we are," one of the pilots said over the radio. "We must have got lost after the last turn." Extensive but sporadic communications were received during the flight, indicating compass and navigation problems. Neither the aircraft nor the 14 men, 6 Navy and 8 Marines aboard were ever seen again. Lieutenant Robert F. Cox, another Navy flight instructor who was flying near the Florida coast, was the first to overhear the patrol's radio communications. He immediately informed the air station of the situation and then contacted the Avengers to ask if they needed assistance. "Both my compasses are out and I'm trying to find Fort Lauderdale, Florida," Taylor said, his voice sounding anxious. "I'm over land, but it's broken. I'm sure I'm in the Keys, but I don't know how far down." Taylor's claims didn't seem to make sense. He's made his scheduled pass over Hens and Chicken Shoals in the Bahamas less than an hour earlier. But he now believed his planes had somehow drifted hundreds of miles off course and ended up in the Florida Keys. The 27-year-old had just transferred to Fort Lauderdale from Miami, and many have since speculated that he may have confused some of the islands of the Bahamas for the Keys. Under normal circumstances, pilots lost in the Atlantic were supposed to point their planes towards the setting sun and fly west towards the mainland. But Taylor had become convinced that he might be over the Gulf of Mexico, hoping to locate the Florida Peninsula. He made a fateful decision to steer Flight 19 northeast, a course that would only make them even further out to sea. Some of his pilots seemed to have recognized that he was making a mistake. "Damn it," one man griped over the radio. "If we would just fly west, we would get home." Taylor was eventually persuaded to turn around and head west, but shortly after 6 p.m. he seemed to have cancelled the order and once again changed direction. "We didn't go far east," he said, still worried that he might be in the Gulf. "We may as well just turn around and go east again." His pilots probably argued against the decision. Some investigators even believed that one plane broke off and flew in a different direction, but most followed their commander's lead. Flight 19's radio transmissions soon became increasingly faint as it meandered out to sea. When fuel began to run low, Taylor was heard prepping his men for a potential crash landing in the ocean. "All planes close up tight," he said. "We will have to ditch unless landfall. When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we will all go down together." A few minutes later, the Avengers' last radio communication were replaced by an eerie buzz of static. A rescue plane sent to find them also disappeared with a loss of 13 men. They never came back, after suffering a probable in-flight fire. Some of the pilots reported their compasses not working and navigation near impossible as stormy weather rolled in. In one of the last radio messages received, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, the flight commander, reported, "We are entering white water. Nothing seems right. We don't know where we are. The water is green. No white." The Navy dispatched more than 300 boats and aircraft to look for Flight 19 and the missing mariner. The search party spent 5 days, combing through more than 300,000 square miles of territory, to no avail. They just vanished. Navy Lieutenant David White later recalled, "We had hundreds of planes out looking. We searched over land and water for days, and nobody even found the bodies or any debris." A Navy Board of Investigation was also left scratching their heads, whilst it argued that Taylor might have confused the Bahamas for the Florida Keys after his compasses malfunctioned. They could find no clear explanation to why Flight 19 had become so disoriented. Its members eventually attributed the loss to causes or reasons unknown. The strange events of December 5, 1945 have since become fodder to all manner of wild theories and speculation. In the 1960s and 70s, pulp magazines and writers such as Vincent Gaddis and Charles Bellitz helped popularize the idea that Flight 19 had been gobbled up by the Bermuda Triangle, a section of the Atlantic supposedly known for its high volume of freak disappearances and mechanical failures. Other books and fictional portrayals have suggested that magnetic anomalies, parallel dimensions, and alien abductions might have played a role in the tragedy. In 1977, the film Close Encounter of the Third Kind famously depicted Flight 19 as having been whisked away by a flying saucer and later deposited in the desert of Mexico. Even the Lost Patrol didn't fall victim to the supernatural. There is no denying that its disappearance was accompanied by many oddities and unanswered questions. Perhaps the strangest of all concerns, Lieutenant Taylor. Witnesses later claimed that he arrived at Flight 19's pre-exercising briefing several minutes late and requested to be excused from leading the mission. "I just don't want to take this one out," he supposedly said. Just why Taylor tried to get out of flying remains a mystery, but it has led many to suggest that he may have not been fit for duty. Also unexplained is why none of the members of Flight 19 made use of the rescue radio frequency or their plane's ZBX receivers, which could have helped lead them towards the Navy radio towers on land. The pilots were told to switch the devices on, but they either didn't hear the message or didn't acknowledge it. So what really happened to Flight 19? The most likely scenario is that the planes eventually ran out of gas and ditched in the ocean somewhere off the coast of Florida, leaving any survivors at the mercy of rough seas and deep water. In 1991, a group of treasure hunters seemed to have finally solved the puzzle when they stumbled upon the watery grave of 5 World War II-era Avengers near Fort Lauderdale. Unfortunately, it was later found that the Hawks belonged to a different group of Navy planes, whose serial numbers didn't match those of the fabled Lost Patrol. Many believe that a wreck of Flight 19 and its doomed rescue plane may still lurk somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle. But while the search continues to this day, no definite sign of the 6 aircraft or their 27 crewmen have ever been found. This brings us to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. If you really enjoyed this video, as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Peace.